What's up, everybody? I'm gonna be giving my reaction to last night's Eagle FC card. If you don't know what Eagle FC is, it's a new MMA promotion started up by the legendary Khabib Nurmagomedov, former UFC lightweight champion, one of the essentially greatest mixed martial artists of all time. He retired after defeating Justin Gaethje, and in retirement he started his own promotion, which is Eagle FC. And I actually even in the name, the Eagle, for those who don't know, that was Khabib's nickname. That was Khabib's dad's nickname. Like, the Eagle was strongly, affiliated with their family. And so I like the name, but then FC, there's obviously UFC, it stands for Fighting Championship. And, I even think that name's a little outdated. It's no longer, it is a fighting championship. I don't know, it's kind of an awkward, verbiage, I guess, in my opinion. And so Khabib's Eagle FC, the FC actually stands for Fight Club, Eagle Fight Club. I like that for whatever reason. I know it's a minute little difference, but that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm not going to go round by round and talk about punches and kicks. But I am going to talk about just kind of my general impression of the promotion, that what I thought of the show, what I thought of the level of athletes. I'm going to get into all that. So it says this Eagle Fight Club 44. I'm a little confused by the numbers. They're making a big deal about it was their first show in the States. So I do believe this is correct. I believe there was a Russian, Khabib being a Russian man, there was a Russian promotion called Gorilla FC that Khabib had bought and changed the name to Eagle FC. So the only thing I can think of is there hasn't been 44 Eagle FCs, but I do believe they carried over the numbering from the GFC, the Gorilla Fighting Fight Club or Fighting Championship. So I do believe that's how we get to number 44. Surprise, a lot of times on these smaller promotions, the commentating, the broadcast team is nothing to write home about. And that was not the case. Star-studded. You had Chael Sonnen. I'm a big fan of Chael. You had Henry Cejudo, former UFC double champ, former Olympic champ. And Kamaru Usman, current pound for pound number one, was on the broadcast. They also had some other non-fighter guy there, and he did a fine job, but I'll be completely honest, I didn't remember his name. He did a fine job, though. So star-studded broadcast, which I'm not going to lie, that is usually what separates the UFC. A lot of these smaller promotions, the broadcast team is just horrendous and cringe and awful and no timing. So to get the star power, they did a fantastic job. I think that's huge. It's obviously not the end-all be-all, but it stood out to me. A lot of my friends were actually messaging me, DMing me, asking me where they could even watch this. And it didn't take too much digging. I'm affiliated with this FlexCast app, which I'll be 100% honest, I had never heard of FlexCast before yesterday. And even the arena they were fighting in was called the FlexCast Arena. So I don't know if Khabib is involved with these companies. I don't know if it's something that's big in Russia, that they're trying to get more pop in here in the States. I'm not sure. I had never heard of FlexCast before yesterday, but that they did offer the card free through FlexCast, and I was able to just stream it on my phone, and then I send it to my smart TV, and it kept cutting out every couple minutes. Not a fan of the FlexCast app. Not a fan of the FlexCast app, but I was a fan of Eagle FC. I definitely enjoyed the card, but the app, and I do believe that was the only place to watch the card was on that app. So, it kind of had you by the balls a little bit, but overall, I don't know. It actually did impact the watchability, because I wasn't able to. There's times where crucial moments of the fight were happening and it would kind of just cut out. So, I imagine they're going to dial in that app a little more, hopefully, with time. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the FlexCast app, and I do believe that was the only way to watch it. Yes, and I think it was the first Eagle FC that took place in the U.S. and I think was available to be watched in the U.S. So, and you know, big, big moment, big day for the organization, for the promotion, for Khabib. And I mean, star-studded. I mean, the people came out. I mean, there Kayla Harrison was there. They said Kamaru Usman was there. Chael. Granted, they were working it, but yeah, Kayla Harrison was there in the crowd. I mean, the crowd was star-studded. I mean, they were just name-dropping people that were in attendance. No, granted, a lot of the celebrities there were like, you know, related to MMA in some form or fashion, but still big names, heavy hitters. I think people obviously respect Khabib and wanted to show respect, but I mean, still, I mean, I'm sure these fighters get invited to, you know, smaller promotions all the time, and they took the time to be there. I think Gilbert Burns was there, Luke, I mean, guys, studs. Watching. They weren't fighting. Let me be very clear on that. Like they had Felicia Spencer, just recently retired women's featherweight, UFC featherweight. She just recently retired, and she was doing kind of like a Olivi / Laura Sanko / Dean Thomas, like kind of all rolled into like one. It was kind of dope. She did a fantastic job. I thought it was cool. I really liked the idea of them hiring her. I like the idea of a retired fighter providing employment to another retired fighter. I just like that. I like everything about that. The kind of camaraderie, this community, the fraternity there, just helping one another out. You don't have to correct me. I know Felicia Spencer is a female, and that wouldn't be a fraternity, but you get the point. I just like the idea of fighters helping fighters. So the event took place in Miami. Apparently, that's where the FlexCast Arena is. And, I mean, I gotta say, it seemed like a big deal. Like, I recently watched, and I'm going to try not to spend this video shitting on Masvidal's promotion, the Gamebred Fighting Championship. I did a video. It's on my channel. You can subscribe and check out some of my other videos. It's like 2 or 3 videos back. But I did a very similar video about my reaction to George Masvidal's Gamebred Fighting Championship, the bare knuckle MMA, and that promotion is not nearly as far along. It doesn't have nearly as legitimate of a feel. So he said, I'm going to try not to dunk on them, but it's kind of hard because like that's kind of hard. You know, there's a lot of parallels there. I mean, I just watched it. I think it was like 4 weeks ago. Pretty fresh in my memory. It's a former fighter promotion. So like this had a very well put together, like it just felt legit. Like it didn't feel like cheap or rinky dink. Like, I mean, obviously some things to work out, but I don't know. It had an overall legit feel to it. And part of that legitimacy, like the mayor of Miami made like an intro video. It was like played in the arena and played on the broadcast. I mean, I imagine the mayor of a major city has plenty on his plate. He made time to make a video and shout out the Eagle Fight Club, you know, first time in the city. So I don't know. Seems like a big deal to me. It had a big deal feel. Like I said, they had the star-studded. I mean, it had the feel. Everything except for the FlexCast. Like I said, that app wasn't the biggest fan. That's probably the most rinky-dink part of the whole operation. But like I said, I get the feeling Khabib might be invested in that company too and trying to have the full circle of it. But yeah, this is just, you know, like when I make these videos, I try to point out things that potentially these promotions are doing differently than some of the ones we're more familiar with, right? Like that's oftentimes why people would watch a smaller or / different promotion than one of the, you know, big boys. Was like, okay, well, what do you offer different, whether it's bare knuckle or whether, you know, like what, I guess, like what's the gimmick? And I gotta say, that can get pretty cringe pretty fast as far as looking for gimmicks goes. With something as serious as mixed martial arts, you got to kind of honor the integrity. You can't stray too far from the path of the tried and true. But you do have to have something different, like you kind of do if you're starting a promotion. And I guess one thing, or if you want to call it 2 things that Khabib is doing different with Eagle FC is the creation of the 165-pound and 175-pound weight classes. A lot of fighters and pundits and just a lot of people have always thought that these weight classes would be natural, just good ideas. And Khabib's putting his money where his mouth is, and it turned it from speculation to a real thing. I think he's building the 165-pound division around Kevin Lee, signed Kevin Lee. Rashad Evans fought on the card, which I'm going to get to that. But, I mean, decent names, like more than decent names, good names. I mean, Kevin Lee and Rashad Evans, I think that's as good a names as any other small promotion has to offer right now. So if you're looking for star power as a reason to watch, which, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I probably wouldn't have tuned in if Rashad Evans. I mean, name power gives, like, legitimacy. It just does. It's a fact. I don't know if you've ever watched PFL, but PFL has the ref cam. They wear, like, these goggles with the camera on it, and I'm a huge fan of that. You get sick angles. It looks great visually. They don't stay there the whole time, but they just pan to it. Like they switch from different angles, and that's one of the angles they pan to. Love it. I think it works. I think it works for the PFL. I think it worked great for Eagle FC. I would love to see the UFC adopt it. Like, I don't see why they don't. I mean, I don't really see the downside. I mean, I guess it looks they look a little goofy in the goggles, but like all the same refs work for these other promotions anyway that use it. So I think the angle's dope. I think it's a great idea. I'm a big fan of the ref cam. Leave it in the comments below if you're a fan of the ref cam, if you like that. Yeah, my dog was scratching at the door. There's, I guess, the neighbor's kids crying. I might as well be in the room here with this, struggling here, gonna get through this video. As far as, like I said, that you can have gimmicks and you can, put lipstick on a pig and make it look good, but if you don't have talent in your organization, in your promotion, there's really no reason to watch, at least to keep watching. People may tune in because they're bored, or people may tune in just to see what it's about or see if it's a shit show. But to keep people coming back, I mean, you gotta have not only names, but talent too. Because let's be real, a lot of these other small promotions, they'll get guys, that are older or shouldn't still be fighting. A name isn't always talent. You got to have both. And I think a pure example of that, so the name, Rashad Evans, was on the card. But you also have like young talent. Like there's this 25-year-old welterweight, Kuramagomedov, and he's a Dagestani stud. Looks like a real stud. He's 25 years old, can strike, can do all the Dagestani wrestling stuff. Stud. Easily a UFC caliber fighter. Actually, I think he had fought on the Contender Series and won his fight, but it was like a split decision, so Dana didn't assign him, and he got a kind of another boring decision in this one, so you can kind of see why he wasn't signed. But, talent, stud talent. And then you got names like Rashad Evans in the co-main. Rashad Evans was fighting Checo in the co-main event. For a smaller promotion, that's a pretty goddamn big fight to have in your co-main event. Like there's a million promotions out there that would try to build a card around the name Rashad Evans, right? So even, like I said, I think quality, depth on the card, talent on the card, combined with the name talent and the new weight classes, like there were plenty of reasons just to answer the question, why should I watch? Or is it worth a couple minutes of my time to tune in and check it out? Like those... there's multiple reasons why that answer was yes with the Eagle Fight Club 44 last night. And Rashad Evans too. So Rashad Evans hasn't fought, former UFC champion, and actually had a special place in my heart. One of my first favorite fighters. Like I think one of the first UFC video games, I'd always play with them. One of my first favorite fighters, Rashad Evans, absolute stud, and Hall of Famer. And resume speaks for itself. And he hasn't fought, I think, in 3 years. And then when he was fighting, I think he ended his career on like a 5-fight losing streak. Fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong. And so it just wasn't looking so hot. And so often these stories, like, is this a cash grab? Why are we here? Is he going to be in shape? Is he going to look like shit? Rashad Evans was in great shape. Looked great, was moving well, was making good decisions, like fight IQ wise. Looked great. Didn't look perfect. He's 42 years old and hasn't fought in a long time. But all things considered, like it wasn't sad. Like sometimes these organizations bring these guys out of retirement and it's almost just like, man, probably should have just stayed retired, you know. Like, what did we gain from you coming out of retirement? But that wasn't the case. Like, this wasn't sad. And even if it was a cash grab, it was like legitimate. Like, he prepared properly. Like, Rashad Evans looked a million times better than Tyron Woodley looked in the Jake Paul fight. And Rashad Evans is much older. So, I mean, credit, all the credit in the world. He took it seriously. He looked great. I mean, dare I say he looked like vintage Rashad Evans. I mean, there was a lot of wrestling. I mean, similar strategies employed. I mean, Checo's not a world beater, but yeah, I thought that was a great co-main event. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Rashad Evans got out of there with a 30-27 win. And then the main event, like I said, I honestly probably would have still put Rashad Evans as the main event, but I don't think Khabib wanted to put all his eggs in that basket in case it was a stinker or a snoozer, with a guy who hasn't fought in so long. So, the main event was actually Tyron Spong versus Sergey Karatov. I'm probably butchering that name, but big old Russian heavyweight versus Tyron Spong, world-class striker. I mean, his kickboxing record, his boxing record, gorgeous. I want to say he's 14-0 boxing. I mean, over 100 kickboxing fights with very few losses. I mean, just stud striker. But it is heavyweight, the one division where you can get away with being 40 pounds heavier than a man. I think Spong weighed in at like 225. Karatov weighed in at like 265, 270. And essentially, Sergey just laid on him. I mean, not laid on him. I mean, there were... I think he actually knocked him out. So, I mean, there was damage. It wasn't, like, you can't say he was a snoozer, but the world-class striker got taken down, by the bigger guy, controlled, hammered out. I don't want to say predictable. I think a lot of people thought Spong, there's obviously path to victory there, but the path to victory wasn't from his back, and he kept getting taken down. He stuffed a couple takedowns, but then, and I honestly, for being such a big dude, shout out to Karatov's cardio. I mean, he was able to keep fighting. I mean, he didn't look like a guy that could maybe necessarily fight 10 minutes strong, and he essentially did that. So, I mean, listen, overall, I came away impressed. From the star-studded broadcast crew to the new weight classes to not only the talent, but the names, I mean, the depth of the card. I mean, the only negatives I would say was I wasn't a fan of the FlexCast app. So, maybe that app will get better, or maybe they'll find a new platform moving forward. I know, back in the day, the UFC was on Spike TV. So, I mean, you can go up. I'm not going to hold that against them. You got to have a platform somewhere people can watch it. I question why these promotions just don't do it on YouTube. Maybe YouTube doesn't like it. I don't know, but it seems like YouTube's more accessible, and they could even potentially, I mean, you can gain subscribers, and I don't know. It seems like a good idea just to do YouTube or even Instagram or something more. Did not FlexCast, but so I think FlexCast may be big in Russia. Maybe that has something to do with it. So I'm a big fan of the Ref Cam. I liked it better than Masvidal's promotion. I liked it way more legit than Game Bread. It is. Sorry, I can't help but kind of compare the two, and it absolutely blows it out of the water. Yeah, I mean, good. I said very surface level complaints. The meat and the potatoes of it, I very much enjoyed. The fighters put on great shows. Like once again, not to just dunk on Game Bread, but seriously, when I was watching the Game Bread Fighting Championship a couple weeks back, a month back, there were guys fighting on that card, and I was like, oh, this guy's a bouncer at an Applebee's on most Saturdays, but this Saturday he's fighting in Game Bread. Was not the case with Eagle. Eagle, all these guys were real fighters. I'll even go as far as to say world-class fighters. I mean, high talent. I mean, I was impressed with the talent, both with the names I did know and the names I didn't know. Maybe more so impressed with the names I didn't know, quite frankly, because that's where it gets a little dicey. Anybody can pull a couple 40-year-old vets whose names you've heard of, cast off. Like Ray Borg was the featured bout and looked great. That's what also, all the people, all the names that you recognize, none of it was sad, washed up performances. Even Spong, he didn't look like shit. He just looked like a striker who fought a grappler 40 pounds heavier than him. There were no sad, oh, why is this guy even here? There was none of that. It was all legit. It was high level. It was world class. It was cool seeing Khabib. Yeah, I wish Khabib much success. Like I said, I'm a fan of him. I think it's the only thing that kind of stuck out. Khabib has made comments before and about the UFC ring girls and needless to say, there's no ring girls in the Eagle Fight Club. But I gotta be real. I didn't miss them. I wasn't like, oh man, this would be sick if there was some chicks in bikinis here. If that's why you're watching fights, I mean, I understand it's part of the tradition. And I understand, Khabib's probably religion probably doesn't jive with that. But if you're watching a dope mixed martial arts card and you're really bummed there's no ring girls, I don't know. I just can't relate to that type of thinking. But like I said, overall, EFC 44, I enjoyed it. Especially on a day that it was a slow sports day. There wasn't really much to do. I enjoyed it. Great job, Khabib. Not that you need my validation whatsoever, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I think just as a consumer, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the level of competition. I enjoyed the broadcast. I wasn't a big fan of the FlexCast app, but if that's the biggest thing I can knock, and that's not even really technically associated with the Eagle FC, I say great job. Great job, Khabib. Looking forward, wishing you much future success, as if you need any more. One of the most successful human beings of all time. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed Eagle Fight Club. Give me a subscription. If you enjoy MMA, talk, banter, content, check out my Beefy Boys Breakdown podcast. We go live the day after every single UFC card. So check that out if you enjoyed this and you want to hear more MMA, UFC content. Check out Beefy Boys Breakdown. Subscribe to that channel as well. Take it easy, everybody.